Okay, so going to look at some of the problems in the trig packet in the second part of the packet. We'll start with number 27. I see I've got an a value here of -2, so that means my amplitude is going to be 2. It will also be flipped. And then we don't have an h, but we have a k, so it's going to get shifted down 1. I'll just say down 1. So my midline is going to be at -1. And so then my amplitude was 2, so I'm going to go 2 above that, 2 below that. Should do this a little bit here. Should allow myself a little bit more room. Looks like I got to get down to -3 and up to +1. Okay, so I'm going to do it this direction for a second. My midline is here at -1. My amplitude is 2, so 2 below that is my minimum. 2 above that is my maximum. So between -3 and +1 is where I'll be going in between. My period is still 360. There's no adjustment to that. So when I cut that in 4, I'm splitting them into 90s. So 90, 180, 270, 360. Okay, it is cosine. Cosine usually starts at the maximum because it's flipped. We're going to start at the minimum. So down here at -3, and then at 90 degrees I'm up to the midline, which is at -1. Then by 180 I'm at the maximum, which is +1. Then at 270 I'm back at the midline at -1, and then by 360 I'm back to my minimum of -1. So connect the dots, and there's our graph for number 27. And we go to the back page. We'll take a look at number 30 and number 32. Number 30. First thing I notice is amplitude and period. Amplitude is just 1, period. There's no adjustment, so it's 360. I'm initially going to go and put my 4 marks. Each a fourth of 360, so that's 90. I do have a shift here. There's no vertical shift, but horizontal. We're going to go left pi/2. If you'd like, I guess I wrote mine in degrees. So pi/2, 180 divided by 4 is 45 degrees. So I'm going 45 degrees to the left. Now, I don't even have, these aren't 45-degree marks. I should go, I guess, to do a -1 since I'm shifting to the left. So that'd be -90 degrees. But I need to put 45 marks in there. So I'm going to switch colors. So I'm going left 45. So right here is actually where I'm going to start. I'm going to do a dashed line here. So at -45 is where I'm going to begin. And then I'm going to go every 90 degrees from there. So I'm going to come to a +45. And then my next 90 after that is 135. My next 90 after that is 225. And so that's 1, 2, 3. I've got to go one more. So 90 after that is 315. So I can keep the original markings there. I know that's probably a little hard to see. Let's see if I can zoom in here. It's not going to let me. Sorry, I don't want to mess up and unfocus it. So sorry you can't see it a little bit better, but I went for -45, 45, 135, 225, and 315. So I'm kind of in between. I used a pen and kind of got blue marks in between to show my shifts. A dash line at -45 because that's where I'm starting. It is sine, so I'm going to go up to my maximum, which is 1, and I'll also have a minimum of -1. Okay, so sine starts at the midline, so that's 0. And then I go up to the maximum, but I don't do it till my next mark, the 45 mark. So I don't put anything on the y-axis itself. It skips over that because that's not one of my quadrantals, essentially. It's kind of shifted, so they're not technically quadrantals, but they will be when I plug it in here. So my next one is 135. That'd be back to the midline. Then at 225, I'm down at the minimum at -1, and by my 315, I'm back up to the midline for my complete period. And so there's my picture. I also want to take a look at number 32. Here we have We don't have an A value, so my amplitude is 1. My period is affected because I have a B value of 2. 360 divided by 2 is 180 degrees. So I'm right away going to put my 4 marks all the way out to 180. So we're going by 45s. But we're going to shift, and looks like we're going left 180 degrees. We could be putting all of these in terms of radians instead. But if I want to go left, I don't even have any markings. 180, that's a full cycle, a full period. Okay, so I'm going to start at negative 180. Now really, it's going to end by 0, meaning another one starts at 0 and goes to the next 180. You could start at 0 and go to 180, and you would have one of the periods of this particular function. That would be okay, but I'm going to go ahead and start on the negative 180. It's cosine, it's not flipped, so it starts up in the maximum of 1, so negative 80, 1. Negative 135 will be at the midline, negative 90 will be down at the minimum, negative 45 I'm back up to the midline, and by 0 I'm up back up to the maximum. And there we go.